Good evening, welcome to Central News for Friday the 9th of August. I'm Hilary Entwistle. In today's news, Waikato Regional Council have made changes to their constituency boundaries for this year's upcoming election. There will now be 14 members elected from 6 general constituencies and 2 Māori constituencies. Deputy Electoral Officer Mali Ahipene says these changes were made as a result of the 6-yearly review local authorities are required to make.
So the changes were made to provide for fair and effective representation of communities of interest, and in doing so we have achieved better alignment of our constituency boundaries with the boundaries of district and city councils, and we've also achieved improved alignment with river catchment areas.
Web is the name of a new business venture founded by a University of Waikato graduate. The company is designed to help businesses service a website that best suits their needs. Cambridge local and Web founder Michael Watson says his business helps other businesses get a strong presence on the net, as it is such an important part of today's world.
Web is a local website design company that I've started with my friend Tom Lahore, who is a technical genius, and the idea has sprung from the NS48 after our successes there, and where we had the success of winning it.
Now for our region's weather, Hamilton, your Saturday will be cloudy with some rain and gustily easterlies turning into a southerly. Your expected high is 15 and an overnight low of 9. Tauranga, rain for you Saturday with a strong easterly turning to a southerly. Your expected high is 16 and an overnight low of 10. Sunday for you, Hamilton, showers with the wind tending towards a southwesterly. Your expected high is 14 and an overnight low of 8. Tauranga, your Sunday will have the occasional showers with a strong southwesterly. Your expected high is 16 and an overnight low of 8. Just ahead, seismic activity, a timely reminder to check your emergency kit. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. Throughout New Zealand, we have been experiencing an increased level of earthquakes. So it seems there is more reason than ever to be prepared for earthquakes within our regions. But just how prepared should we be? Amy talks to Waikato Civil Defence to get the lowdown.
Hi Greg, now tell us, why are we experiencing an increased level of seismic activity?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and GNS Science is certainly doing a lot of work at the moment to try and understand what's going on down in the Cook Strait right now. We don't have anything conclusive at the moment. Certainly what they do find out will help us in the future to understand those hazards down there.
Can you tell us more about the Waikato Civil Defence Management Plan?
Sure, so our Waikato Civil Defence Plan it's our 5-year plan, so it helps identify the hazards that exist in our region and the risks that go with those hazards. And it also sets out how we're going to tackle those risks over the next 5 years across the 4 R's, which is the foundation of civil defence. So that's looking at reducing the risks, making sure that they're ready to respond to events, response itself, and also recovery after the event.
So how many active faults are there in the Waikato region?
Yeah, we've got 3 major faults in the Waikato region. So we have the Kiripahi fault, which runs along the Hauraki Plains, closer to the Kaimai Ranges. We also have the Wairoa fault, which runs along the Bombay Hills. There's also the Rangipo fault, which runs to the east of Mount Ruapehu. In addition to these major faults, we've also got several smaller faults, particularly around the Taupo area, around the Taupo Volcanic Centre. So those are all within our region.
Now, a lot of people know what to do in an earthquake, but what about after?
Yeah, so what happens after an earthquake is all about what we do before an earthquake. It's all about our personal planning, making sure that we have household plans in place, making sure that we understand how we will get in contact with our household, with our family members, meeting places, because often buildings may not be accessible after an earthquake, so having a think about that. And also having a think about critical items that you may require after an earthquake. So things like your medication, making sure that you have enough supplies to get you through for a few days, as well as key documents and records as well that you may need over those few days.
And is it possible for scientists to predict earthquakes with the technology available these days?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's certainly a lot of technology out there, and in particular it's a lot more accessible. The GeoNet website has certainly shown that there's all sorts of information. We can see the information around earthquakes happening almost instantaneously. It does help us to understand what's going on, and it helps us to understand what has happened. But predicting earthquakes still remains a challenge for scientists.
Now, how can businesses prepare for the possibility of an earthquake?
So certainly with Christchurch and more recently Wellington, it's really shown the impact that earthquakes can have on business. In particular, central business areas and a lot of the major buildings are not accessible after an earthquake. And so businesses really need to think about what impact will this disruption have on their business, not being able to get access to key records, files and systems, things like that. The other element to it is your staff. So staff will be disrupted likely during an earthquake or following an earthquake, both because they can't actually physically get into your business, but also often people will have their own personal priorities following an earthquake. So it's a matter of considering what impact will that have on your business systems and how can that be addressed. The other thing to bear in mind as well is that a lot of businesses rely on services from around the country in different areas of the country. So even if you're not in an area that's directly impacted by an earthquake, your business may well be affected by that earthquake. And so that's another issue to take into consideration.
And again, at home, what should we do to prepare?
Yeah, so I've already covered your personal preparedness, making sure that you have a household plan in place. It's always easier to plan these things before an event happens rather than having to deal with these issues during the chaos after an event. But yeah, so as I said, making sure that your family is aware of what the plan is after an earthquake, making sure you have your communications in place and where you'll meet up after an earthquake. The other thing as far as around your household, easy things such as securing heavy items that may cause injury or further damage during an earthquake. So get in and get those secure now to prevent that from happening.
So what other natural disasters are we at risk of in the Waikato and Bay of Plenty region?
The Waikato and Bay of Plenty have them all, I think it's fair to say. We're a large region. Our most significant risk is due to river flooding, so we have several major river systems running through the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty. We also have tsunami, so we have quite a lot of low-lying coastline, particularly up around the Coromandel and Bay of Plenty area, that's susceptible to tsunami, both from close source earthquakes but also distant ones as well. So the likes of an earthquake towards South America can also pose a risk to us. We also have the volcanoes located down around Taupo and also the potential for them to impact the wider region from things like ashfall.
And how prepared would you say the general public are?
I think there's varied levels of preparedness across the Waikato region. One thing to keep in mind though is that it's not just about personal preparedness, it's also about community preparedness. Something that Christchurch shown us is that despite levels of response that occur during an event, it's all about the community coming together and helping themselves to respond and recover from an event. So that's another element that I think is very important for people to appreciate. Get to know your neighbours, get to know your networks and use that to help you get through.
So how can people find out more information about civil defence and natural disaster preparations?
So they can go to our website, which is www.waikatoregioncdemg.govt.nz, and we have just actually, we will be launching our new website shortly, which will provide a lot of information around the hazards and risks that impact the Waikato, as well as what to do. The website also allows you to connect with us through social media, so that'll be an excellent starting point. There's also the national campaign which helps people to get ready for disasters, which is getthrough.govt.nz, and people can also talk to their local council, so any one of our local councils can provide a lot of civil defence information, particularly for local communities.
Remember to be prepared for natural disasters by having your emergency kits ready and having a plan. For more information, visit Waikato's Civil Defence website, Waikato Region CDEMG.gov.nz. Just ahead, students against drink driving. Welcome back. A highly effective peer education program, Students Against Drink Driving Awareness Week, or SAD, is coming up next week. And schools across the board are getting involved. We caught up with the leaders at Matamata College to find out what they have lined up. First of all, can you tell us about the organisation SAD?
Well, it's Students Against Drunk Driving. Basically, it's just a group of, well, all over New Zealand, just all students getting together and trying to combat ways to try and promote, safe driving, I guess, and just coming up with campaigns and just trying to get everyone in the community involved to try and make awareness.
So what are the dates this year?
The dates, the third week itself starts on the 12th and goes through to
The 16th of August.
the 16th.
Yeah, and so it's next week, so...
So what are the statistics on New Zealanders teenagers losing their lives to drink driving?
Oh, I don't know the numbers exactly off the top of my head, but it's a really large amount. It's gotten better by the years as SAD's kind of been promoted a bit more, but it does still happen. So I suppose that's why everyone's kind of like SAD's becoming a bigger thing in a lot of schools. A lot of schools are starting with SAD now.
And it's usually our age level, so I think it's 15 to 18-year-olds that have had the most crashes due to drunk driving.
And you're more
includes-
likely to die in a car crash than the cause.
Yeah, which is
That's
pretty
fun.
intense when you look at it that way. So it's our age, so it kind of makes us more aware as well.
Why do you think students do drink drive?
Usually because we had a conference that we went to, and that was one of the questions that came up, and we had to write down all the ways that we thought could have led to it, and most of it was either peer pressure or they think it won't happen to them, which is what we hear about a lot in the news, I guess, that they don't think it'll happen to them. So
I think a lot of the time it's also a small town. There's not many alternatives to getting away home, so you kind of, I'll just drive myself home.
And those rural sectors have got those bigger numbers, haven't they? How do we tackle that then?
I think promotion, need more promotion, and it needs to become not cool. Like if something's cool, look at smoking now. Smoking's not really cool anymore, and it's kind of like a lot of people are like
people know that
giving
it's
up
bad.
and stuff. Yeah. I think it just needs to become not cool, and the word will get round, and people need to look out for each other more.
We need to come up with better ways to, more fun and interesting ways to get it out there, because usually it's just statistics on TV, but when you look at the ad campaigns, like the all the funny ones that are out there, and people watch it more because it's funny and they can relate to
Makes
it.
a big impact. Yeah.
That's also one of the things that we're looking at doing, just trying to make it more interesting for everyone, kind of thing. Yeah.
So with the Students Against Drink Driving campaign and that, so what do you guys actually do? You attend a conference, and do you kind of put together some campaigns yourselves, or...?
We run SAD Week, which we kind of been trying to do stuff earlier in the year, not very SAD related, but we had a leg wax, which kind of like got a lot of boys involved. We had boys waxing their legs and people bit off them. But that was just kind of to get SAD started for the year. And then now we're organising a SAD Week, which has got lots of different activities going the whole week. Really exciting.
So what have you guys got planned then?
We've got a mock crash, which is a big thing every year. So we get a car from, the car yard or something,
and stuff,
and it's all crashed up anyway, and then we get actors to act in it, and we put fake blood and stuff on them, and we stage it spontaneously through the week so no one knows what's happening, and it just kind of, it's a sense of realism, I guess, for all the kids that are standing around thinking what's going on, what's happening. So it's just a bit more realistic for those students.
Especially the younger ones. It's not something they've seen before until they've come to college for the first time, so it puts a bigger impact on them, which is good, I think, as you're going into college, because that's when you tend to start trying alcohol and things like that. So,
And then we've just got little things like a SAD board, which people write down what they will miss the most if they die in a car crash, and put it on a board. Then by the end of the week we'll have this huge board full of post-it notes, so people can reflect. And then it's just basically awareness, really, letting people know that there is a SAD committee and that it really is big in the community.
So why do you guys want to get involved? Like, what made you think that, I want to put my time and effort into this cause?
quite strongly against it, I guess. I go mental at people that do that, seriously. I don't like the thought of it. I think it's horrible, and I think it's unfair a lot of the time, not just for the person that's actually doing it, but to the innocent, because I've heard of many stories where people would go out and they would be just driving sober and a drunk driver would kill them because, it's really not fair. Like, what did they do? They didn't do anything wrong. So
yeah, it's wanting to make it bigger in New Zealand, because New Zealand is probably one of the worst
big
countries
drinking culture,
for drinking, and especially teenage drinking. And it's just wanting to make it bigger, because not many people realise that teenagers probably die mostly because of car accidents. And so it'd probably be better to make it more aware around New Zealand as a whole.
I mean, that's pretty true of all New Zealanders. We pretty much all know someone that has, or someone of someone, or, you know, it's that third degree separation, really, isn't it? We all know someone who has died from a drunk driver hitting them, or they've driven drunk themselves. You know, and I mean, over the past decade, 700 students have died from drink driving crashes. You know, that's nearly one a day. You know, that's, you know, I mean, sorry, one death a week. You know, that's it's awful, isn't it? And it's
Not really. I mean, you're so young still. You've got like your whole life ahead. You don't really want to cut it short because you may as well go home and only had a few. Like, we're not telling people not to drink. That's not what SAD's about. Like, you can go out, have drinks, have a good time. It's just finding a good alternative to drink driving.
It's better if that students are kind of the voice for it, because well, we can find better ways to let everyone else know, I guess, and it makes us more aware as well. Because before SAD, because we've both been part of it for 2 years, and I didn't really realise that it was such a big thing. I just thought, oh hey, SAD, it's a committee, wow, cool. But then now it's just like, you know so much more about it.
Yes, it definitely is a big problem in New Zealand. It's very inspiring to meet two young people who are trying to tackle that problem. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Up next, we talk rugby, playgrounds and World War I with the Mayor. If you've just joined us, welcome to Central News. It was a bit of a nail-biting win the Chiefs had over the Brumbies, but all the same, they deserve their own parade. Amy caught up with the Mayor of Hamilton City, Julia Hardacre, to find out how Tuesday's victory parade went.
Well, Julie, a bit of a nail-biting game over the weekend, but an exciting result all the same. So tell me about the parade with the Chiefs on Tuesday.
Yeah, nail-biting game, that's for sure. But we made it, and you know, never in doubt, that's what I say. Look, we had a great parade on Tuesday. The Chiefs all came down Victoria Street on the trucks and then hopped off in Garden Place. And look, I think because it's a back-to-back, of course, we've got last year to compare it with, and I think the crowd was probably about double what there was last year. The weather was shining, it was a beautiful couple of hours, and the Chiefs were really into it. The crowd, ballistic. So what was really nice, though, was, you know, the guys talked about what it meant for to have the fans, to have all that support, and the crowd, of course, loved to hear that. And also we gave them an outstanding achievement medal from the city to thank them, you know, really for the whole Chiefs. It's not just the team, it's everyone in the back room and all the coaching staff and the medical staff. They've got a big group of people that get them onto the field and help them play. So we gave them an outstanding achievement medal, and they were really, really chuffed with that, and that was just the city's way of saying thank you. So huge crowds, great afternoon, and go the Chiefs for next year, because I think we could do a three-peat.
Yeah, well, here's hoping.
Here's hoping, I know they're doing, you know, some of the players are leaving, but I know that they have been, you know, really careful about astute buying, so fingers crossed. I think they've set it up now so the fans expect nothing less than winning.
Yeah, they've set the bar high, haven't they? Now, tell me about the brooch that you're wearing.
So this brooch here is the official logo for the World War I commemorations. The government set up a special group to run those for the whole of New Zealand. So this is very exciting. We had a presentation at the local government conference from the CE of that group, talking about all the ideas and initiatives that the government is looking at to commemorate from, of course, the beginning of World War I, starting next year in 1914. So what we're doing is, as a city and right across New Zealand, all cities and all places, all towns, are getting in behind how they might, in their own communities, commemorate what went on in World War I. So we've got a very strong relationship here in the city with the RSA, and we do have a military connection here. We did, of course, have the riflemen based down here on Knox Street for, well, I think they moved on a few years ago, but it's in our recent past anyway. And when we look at the history of this city's relationship with World War I, there are some wonderful and interesting stories. So we've got a group. They are working up a plan about what we will be doing. The other thing that's exciting, I think, for everyone in New Zealand is that the government has made available a fund and various groups can apply to that fund for money for funding a project in their community that will have national significance. So, it's going to be a really interesting commemoration time starting from next year. Of course, 1915 was a big one for New Zealand with Gallipoli, so I think that will be certainly a big event in the city. So, I think the symbol is really appropriate. It's the poppy, of course, but it's slightly modern form. And I think people will start seeing that everywhere. So if people want to know more, they can go on the website for the World War I commemorations. There's lots of things on there about what we're going to be doing as a nation.
Now, a bit of a hot topic at the moment is playgrounds. So tell me about the recent discussions.
It has been interesting, hasn't it? And quite coincidentally, one of the resolutions the council made a month or so ago was to set up a working group specifically to look at playgrounds in the city and how we might do that better. And then, of course, in the last week, there's been lots of discussions about experts coming out to New Zealand talking about playgrounds, PC, what all these standards we have to meet now, and actually the changing nature of what kids want in playgrounds. So our working group is up and running, and we've had some very interesting discussions already. And I think, I'm quietly confident we're going to be rolling out something very exciting for the city within the budget framework. That's what's very interesting, is kids today are looking for something different. The old swing and slide aren't kind of doing it anymore. My day that was it, but nowadays kids are looking for more stimulation, more challenging sort of play equipment, and also, a more versatile and creative sort of areas which kids can play in. And the other thing we've noticed, an emerging trend, which is all around the world, is families are gathering at playgrounds and using those as sort of a meeting point and a place perhaps to stay for a few hours. So with all this stuff happening, and the changes in population and climate change with shade and things like that, we've been having some great discussions in our working group about how we might deliver better playgrounds for the city within the budget we've got. So, I'm pretty excited about it, actually. And, Google playgrounds and you can see all the amazing ones they've built around the world. But we're a city of families here in Hamilton, and playgrounds and play spaces are very important for our young people. So I'll look forward to talking to you when we roll out some new ideas about how we're going to have playgrounds in the city.
And have you been getting views from the kids as well?
Yeah, so one of the things the staff are going to be doing is talking specifically to groups that, I guess have a lot to do with kids like Plunket and the, childcare and schools, to get some really good feedback about, what they want to see. Another thing that's quite interesting is how school playgrounds interface with public playgrounds, because of course the Ministry of Education fences off their playgrounds, but is there a better way? Can we in fact open those up, and what would it take to open those up? So right across New Zealand, local authorities are talking about this issue. So hopefully we can bring it all together and have some good discussions with the Ministry, because I think that is an opportunity that's being missed at the moment, and I certainly would like to see school playgrounds opened up for the public.
You can find out more on any of the Hamilton City topics discussed on their website hamilton.co.nz. That is the news for today and this week. We really want you to be involved, so like us on Facebook and let us know your views. If you have news including your own video and photos, go to our website and hit upload. Thanks for joining us. I will be back here again next week with more guests from in and around our regions. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening and a fantastic weekend.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.